Hello crochet lovers, welcome once again to Crochet Lovers. Today we are on class 5 for our crochet challenge, My Own Crochet Doll. We'll learn to make the face and the hair for our dolls. This is an example of the circle we'll imagine over our doll's face. We'll enter on this side, on one of the bottom corners. Then we'll move to point A. We'll pass the needle through the bottom for point B, and then the thread will mark the way. Again, we'll enter through a point A, slightly higher than the past one, and also wider. And we'll bring it out higher than the previous one too. This will make the stitch bigger in general. That's what the thread will mark, and we keep entering through point A and coming out through point B. We'll keep following the circle shape or whatever shape we want to give our eye. Once we get to the center, we'll go through it 3 or 4 times in a straight line. And then we'll decrease in size to finish with a small line on top. The process of making the eyes and mouth is a strong image for kids, since we'll use the needle to go through the doll's head, so make sure no kids are around you while watching this video. We'll work with a yarn needle, the longest you can find. And we'll also be using a sewing or knitting thread. If it's a sewing thread, we'll use it double. And if it's a knitting thread, we'll separate it in order to use only 2 of the strings. I have on the needle that double thread. And we'll go in through that initial point I show you in the drawing. And we'll bring the needle out in any part of the top of the head that will later be covered by the hair. We bring it out there and leave a thread of about 4 or 5 centimeters. And then, with this other extreme, we'll bring in the needle again. You can see it's double because I'm using a sewing thread. And we'll keep going like I showed you in the drawing. So here, we enter through point A. We bring the needle from the bottom through point B on the other side. And we make the first line. The first one is almost imperceptible. It was more noticeable in the drawing, but in reality it's not as simple to make these stitches over the crochet stitches, because the surface is less flat than a normal fabric. But we'll try to always keep the needle in a horizontal position. And we'll keep making lines to make our eye. I should warn you, this is not an easy task. Because since this is crochet, we'll go through a thicker yarn, which creates an irregular surface. So please be very patient. If we need to undo some stitches, we just do that and then we try again. And like I showed you in the drawing, we'll keep going from point A to point B over and over, always trying to maintain that circular or maybe even oval shape. Right now, I'm going through it the last time. It's very small, so we can close the oval shape. And now we'll move back down. This can help us to correct any stitch that is not perfect. And it will also give some more relief to our eye. So we do the exact same thing. We go in through point A and come out through point B. And we make some more stitches downwards in order to correct any possible defects and give the eye a more circular shape. I know you'll be happy with the way your eye looks. Remember, it will never be totally perfect, but when we're happy with the way it looks, we'll go through the head as close as we can to the previous thread, and we bring the needle out through the top of the head. Here we need to tie the initial and final threads, and then we hide both of them like we have done with the previous ones in our doll. Now we'll start making the other eye with the same instructions, always trying to make it as similar as possible. They will never look the same, so try to be very patient until you have them both ready. And this is how the top of the head will look with both threads tied. Now we'll start making the mouth, so we select the width of the thread we want for the mouth. I'll make it using 4 strings of a cotton thread. Now we'll use a couple pins to mark the start and finish of our doll's mouth. We go in one of the marks, and we bring the thread out on top of the head too. We can use some thongs for this if it helps us move the needle. So we thread the needle and go in right where the other pin is. We pull it a little downwards, so we end up having a shy smile. But always remember that Waldorf dolls are not very expressive. This is a suggestion for the face. You can make it in any other way you want because it should have your personal touch. So now that we have the face, we'll begin making the hair. For the hair, we'll make this type of beanie. I will show you right away how to make one. And there are tons of techniques to make your doll's hair, but I think this is a very real technique that will allow us to comb our doll's hair and give it different shapes. I'll make my doll's hair with Kenna, a yarn from the brand Katia, which is made from alpaca. Try to find a fussy yarn. Alpaca is a great option, but if you can't find it, it will look super cute with normal yarn, as I'll show you in a bit. We'll start by making the beanie. I'll show you how with this yarn because it's better for the tutorial than the fussy yarn. We can use any width we want, so we chain 2, and in the first one we'll make 6 single crochet stitches. Right now we'll close a row by making 1 slip stitch in the first single crochet. After this we chain 1, and then we make 1 increase in each stitch available. So we make 1 and 2 single crochets. We make the following increase, and so on until we have 6 increases, which means 12 single crochet stitches. We close a row with a slip stitch in the first top loop, and for the next row we make 1 chain, and then we make 1 single crochet, 1 increase, 1 single crochet, 1 increase. We'll do this 6 times until we close the row. We'll repeat this sequence 6 times. I've finished it now. We have 18 single crochets in this row, and we'll keep growing 6 at a time. For the next row, we make 2 single crochets, 1 increase, 2 single crochets, 1 increase, and we'll repeat that 6 times. And by the end of the row, we should have 24 single crochets. We close a row with a slip stitch. We already know this goes in the first top loop we made, and we keep growing like this, adding 1 single crochet between increases in each new row. For this new row, we should make 3 single crochets, 1 increase. In the next one, 4 single crochets and 1 increase, and so on until this circle covers the diameter of our doll's head. I still have to make some more rows. Now I'm done. You can see that I have the same diameter than the doll's head. So right now we'll stop making increases and we'll continue making just 1 single crochet in each stitch available. We always begin each row with a chain. And now we make 1 single crochet in each stitch available until we go all the way around. We close it off with a slip stitch and you'll see that the shape of the beanie starts to be made. So we repeat this 1 chain and 1 single crochet in each stitch available, and we keep going until we reach the size of the beanie. I won't give you an exact number of rows because each of us needs to check the yarn we're using and our doll's head until it has the appearance of the base for the hair. It will not be a beanie, so leave space for the forehead and for the back of the neck. And whenever we're happy with the base for the hair, we'll cut a long thread that we will use to attach the base to our doll's head. I'll set some markers so that it stays in place while I attach it. And now, with our yarn needle, we'll create some stitches in order to set the base to the head. I always make the face first because, as you can see, the hair covers everything. But if you want to make the hair first, it's also possible. We have set the base for the hair, and now we'll make the strings. So we'll use a very long thread to work until we run out. And then we'll begin again. We just have to go through 1 stitch from the base We leave some thread on that side. This will be the length we choose for our hair. It's always better to leave it longer than shorter because we can always cut the hair if we want later on. And right on the string, or at the sides, we'll make a sewing stitch. Just like that. There we go. With the long thread, it can take some time, but later we'll get used to it. Now we'll leave a loop, and we'll pull the needle through the stitch that's next to this one. We'll leave that loop there, and after that we make another sewing stitch. Verify that the loop does not grow bigger, that it's set. And then we repeat this. We go to the next stitch, leave that loop there in the same length as the rest of the hair, and after the loop we make one sewing stitch. And we keep making loops and sewing stitches over and over for this whole row. We can make the hair as fuller as we want, or we can just make separated strings so it's not as filled. We'll cut those loops later. But for now, we keep making them, and then the sewing stitches. Just keep doing this for as long as you need. Another technique is to cut the threads for the hair twice as long as we want them. Then we use the hook to bring them through one stitch from the base. And we tie a knot like we do for a fringe. This is another technique, but I think it takes longer and is less versatile than the one I'm using. I've finished my first row of loops. Now we can go back or we can cut the yarn and begin with a new row. So always remember to leave the loop. They will be longer on each row we go up. And after the loop, we use the same stitch to make a sewing stitch. And we keep going, filling this with as much hair as you want. We make the hair as fuller as we want. So we just keep going, making a new row each ½ centimeter. You can see here the space I'm leaving between rows. And we'll just keep doing this until we want to make a part at the top of the hair. We'll set the middle or the side part, however we want. I'll use a couple pins to mark it. And we'll work in this direction until we get to the part. And on the other side in the opposite direction. So they'll meet up right where we want the part to be. So as you can see, I worked in this direction. And now I'm working in the opposite sense until I get to the part. I'm at the very top now. This is my side part. So now I remove the pins, and to fill in those last gaps, I'll make one last row like all the others but in a vertical direction. So I'll leave that loop here. As you can see, it's longer now. We then make the sewing stitch. Then we leave another loop there and one more sewing stitch. It's the same process, only now we're doing it vertically. And that's how the part looks. If you want to add some bangs to your doll, we do the same thing to the front, just like we did in the back, but towards the front. And now it's time to go to the hair salon, and we need to cut the loops and work on the last details for the hair. For boys, we can use the same technique. Just make the hair shorter. I'll leave my dolls like this for now. So I will see you very soon with a new tutorial or a new social media post. In the meantime, have a great day, crochet lovers!